Join Jet and me for part 2, camping out in my ex-army Snatch Land Rover at RAF West Raynham. In this episode, I reveal some top secret Red Arrow's Mischief. Enjoy the sunset on this chilly autumn evening. Keep warm in front of a raging fire. Share a meat feast with a fellow carnivore. A bishop's finger or two. Before spending the night inside a nice warm snatch. Driving towards the main gate, the officer's mess on my right hand side is obscured by trees. The guard room on my right hand side is now occupied by the firing squad, a log burning stove company, with the former station headquarters building directly opposite. Following the chapel is the sergeant's mess, then a couple of barrack blocks. On our left, it's the station armoury. Before a left turn between hangars, before driving out onto the dispersal and across the main runway. Ahead of us is the air traffic control tower in all its glory. With a glimpse of the Hunter aircraft, now an Air Tower Heritage Museum piece. Pull up a sandbag and I'll tell you about the time I smoked out the red arrows with a lightweight Land Rover. The story begins years earlier when one of my duties was to carry out the daily pre-use check of the section's Land Rover. This involved checking the lights, horn, tyre pressures using the calibrated tow technique, coolant and engine oil levels. Our lightweight lost oil, so top-ups were frequent. One morning I accidentally overfilled the motor by over a pint. I figured it was a chore I could avoid for the next few days. Moving off, all was fine, until I made a sharp left turn. It was then that the excess oil found its way into the combustion cycle and a huge plume of smoke was emitted from the exhaust. After a few more turns, the excess oil was all burned off and normal service resumed. Now then, the red arrows, or as I often call them, didadadas, had a reputation for smoking the ground crew at stations they visited when leaving for air shows. It was a good hoot, but a bit one-sided. When I was on duty at an air show at RAF Valley, as the red arrows came into view, a young boy, clearly from Liverpool, pointed and called out excitedly to his mother, "Look, ma'am, look! It's didadadas, ma'am, look!" Well, the name stuck. I just can't get it out of my head. Anyways, years later, one weekend, I was on duty at the visiting aircraft section at RAF Raynham, just me because it was a sleepy shift. Imagine this, didadaras were due in soon. A 52-gallon drum of red-dyed diesel had been left in the section's small hangar, and I had a lightweight Land Rover at my disposal. The temptation was too great. I acted on impulse, decanted a litre or so of red dye and poured it into the lightweight's engine. Not knowing whether it would work the same on this lightweight, unsure whether I'd added too little or too much, I drove gently out to the dispersal, just as Diradaras were parking up on the flight line. The pilots were disembarking towards their transport, their own ground crew in attendance. My timing was perfect. I pulled a sharp left turn. The gentle breeze was in my favour. I drove steadily in front of the row of 9 Red Arrows Hawk aircraft and smothered all assembled in thick red smoke. In the rear view mirror, both ground crew and Red Arrows pilots appeared to be rolling in laughter, or were they choking? In plain view of air traffic control, and yet my prank went unreported. Having said that, Diradaras and red smoke on the airfield at the same time was not unusual. Just the method of delivery in this instance. In a moment of panic, and in a bid to hide the evidence, I headed straight to the motor club and carried out an engine flush and oil change.